Good morning, everybody. My name is Bart Winkler. I am recording this on Saturday afternoon at 1:04. I am live on the Dan Schani YouTube stream, youtube.com, also danschani.com. And will also serve as the start of the Monday Memorial Day podcast. Coming up, we're going to go into the future and realize a world of which there are no Milwaukee Brewers in town. I will tell you that I'm coming to you live at a really awful time, as my son was playing outside, and then he went back outside after he got some toys inside. He then tripped over a hose, and he fell on his knees, and he cried. So then, to accommodate him, I put him in front of the TV so he could watch toys on YouTube. My wife is outside doing yard work. I'm in the basement on live YouTube, and he is upstairs on the couch crying for a new episode. Buddy, just watch whatever's next. The Bucks have hired Adrian Griffin as their next head coach. I believe I have Paul Emick here. Paul, hello.
Hi, I'm in the car.
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
Where are you?
I'm driving.
Oh, all right. So the Bucks hired Adrian Griffin. Instant reaction that only the Bart Winkler YouTube stream can provide. What do you got for me?
I can't give you a hot take. It was not what I expected. It's not what I wanted, but I guess it sounds like it's what Giannis wanted. So I guess that's good? Question mark. I'm not thrilled. I thought your rehire Bud conversation was a complete waste of time. I didn't like it. I thought it was dumb. Now that they've hired Adrian Griffin, I'm kind of like, hey, can we have the rehire Bud conversation? So that's where I'm at.
Well, and I don't want to have too crazy of a reaction because ultimately I don't think we know what's going to happen. Either he's a really good coach or he's a really bad coach. I'm not sure there's going to be an in-between here. He does have a coaching history. He was an assistant with Nick Nurse for the last handful of years in Toronto, and an assistant in Oklahoma City with the Magic, with the Bulls, former Bucks assistant in 08 and 10, longtime player. And I think that what I wanted was them to hire a former player. Is Adrian Griffin the right guy? That's what I had heard, that the Bucks wanted, or Giannis wanted, a former player. Then we started to hear that Giannis wanted this player specifically in Adrian Griffin. And so now we're going to find out if he's got what it takes to coach better than a Kenny Atkinson or Nick Nurse or whoever. This is the problem. This is the overarching problem, is that I don't think there was going to be a hire with everybody that was available that would make us excited. I guess Nick Nurse, I think there would have been some people very excited, but mostly not. I just think that because of and all these teams are going through it. I've talked about this with Monty Williams and Doc Rivers. All these guys get fired, and then who's next? We don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. And again, yeah, it's hard to have a hot take. It's hard to say, hell yeah, or even what are they doing? I think what we can talk about is if this is the guy Giannis wanted, if that's true, is that good or bad? Jake already comments Giannis better be signing that extension in September if this was his hire. I think that would be nice. Also, is it good for Giannis to have this sort of control? Do you need a guy in here that's going to fight back with Giannis? Mike Budenholzer didn't do anything. I mean, the thing with Bud was, when Giannis said that stuff after the playoffs about, oh, well, I wish we would have done this or done this. Why didn't he just go to Bud and say that? Was Bud not the kind of guy that he could say that to? But then again, it's not like Bud was, I don't know. The one thing I didn't want them to do was hire, get a young or have a nice group here that's molded well, and then hire Ken Maka to fuck it all up. I don't think they did that, but I also don't want a guy that Giannis can just push over. And so ultimately, it's not so much right now, because we don't know about what kind of coach this guy's going to be. It's going to be, why was he hired, and what are the Bucks trying to do with that hire, Paul?
I do not want to even get close to comparing Giannis and Kevin Durant the Kevin Durant who has changed teams many times and seems to change his mind pretty easily and pretty quickly. But this is the life in the NBA of having a super duper star on your roster. When Kevin Durant last offseason said, well, it's either me or Steve Nash, they fired Steve Nash. It took 8 games into the regular season, but they fired Steve Nash. And that's not good. I don't want my superstar player, no matter how amazing and all-time great he is, like Giannis is, like Kevin Durant is. I'm not comfortable with that, but this is different than saying you have to fire this guy or I'm leaving. This is not the same thing as that. But it is a level of control that you have handed over to a player. And I, for the most part, will usually disagree with that. I think, did you say that
Well,
was
again, I still feel like that's all alleged.
I doubt it. Adrian Griffin is not the coach of the Bucks. If it wasn't for Giannis, was that Jake who sent in the comment a little bit ago that you mentioned?
Yeah.
If this is how you keep Giannis for another extension, and by the way, not just another extension, but an extension that you don't have to fret about, that you just know Giannis is coming. If John Horst said, Giannis, what do we have to do to get you to not even talk about your upcoming free agency? What do we have to do? And if he says, hire Adrian Griffin, well, great, hire Adrian Griffin. Because it's the most important thing they can do is to retain Giannis. That is the pros and the cons in the NBA of having a super duper star, is they are given and have a lot of power and a lot of sway. And the only thing I'd say about Drew Holiday the other day went on that podcast and just glowed over Nick Nurse. And I don't know that the odds of who is the next Bucks coach shifted as a result of those comments from Drew Holiday, but I know that I started to think that the players, Drew Holiday and Giannis and whoever else, that they had started to text about, hey, Nick Nurse is probably our coach, let's start to get comfortable with that. And Drew Holiday talking about, he's kind of a jerk, but sometimes it's good to have a jerk. So I definitely thought it was trending in that direction after Drew Holiday went very strongly down the Nick Nurse route. And when that was happening, by the way, my first thought was, okay, time to throw away all Drew Holiday trade suggestions, because he's sitting here glowing about the next head coach of the Bucks, Nick Nurse. Well, that, of course, didn't happen. So now I'm okay,
Maybe the Bucks have a trade going on, chat going on about, guys that are actually going to be here next year, and then they have Drew on a different chat, and they're like, yeah, Drew, it's Nick Nurse.
Yeah, Drew's already on a chat with the Portland Trailblazers, and the Bucks are on the chat. They brought Anthony Simons into the Bucks group chat, and Scoot Henderson, the upcoming number 3 pick, because that's apparently what they're doing with Drew. No, we don't know that. But so I would tell you, if Giannis, if this is his thing, and he's going to have a very non-contentious contract extension negotiation with the Bucks, and he's just going to sign it, he's going to show up one day and sign it, and that's that. And they don't have to even go through some of the stuff that they went through the last time he re-signed, or signed his extension, I should say. If they don't have to deal with any of that, and this is the way to get there, great. And the only other thing I would say, Bart, is if Giannis did not feel comfortable, and obviously he did not feel comfortable, in approaching Mike Budenholzer to say, I want Jimmy, or I want to do this, if he didn't think that there was enough of an open door policy or a good relationship with Bud, but Giannis would feel comfortable doing that with Adrian Griffin, well, then I do think that that's important. Giannis needs to feel comfortable and confident and empowered to do what other superstars do, which is, yes, you have to respect your coach. You've seen the videos of my favorite coach in history, Eric Spoelstra, yelling at Jimmy Butler. That's an important thing, and Adrian Griffin's going to have to prove that he can do that. But you also want your superstar to feel empowered enough to say, no, this is what we're doing now, assuming that Giannis has, the right ideas in mind, which he presumably would. So I think that might be the collective of my thoughts right now.
All right, well, you can stay if you want. I'm going to bring in Grant Bills, we've actually been planning for this. We thought that this might happen. So we sent Grant to Fiserv Forum. That is not a background if you're on YouTube. Grant, you are actually there. Beautiful day.
Yeah, I'm down here in front of Fiserv, Bart. I've been here for a couple of days because word has been expected for a while that the Bucks would be hiring their new coach. It was just a matter of when over this long weekend. And I think the crowd down here is buzzing. I think there's certainly a lot of excitement and potential for a young head coach.
Are people gathering? I saw one person behind. Are people gathering in a rally for Adrian Griffin?
I'm going to be honest with you, Bart. If this rally or lack thereof is a sign of things to come with Adrian Griffin, it's not good.
Are you telling me that since Fiserv Forum in the Deer District did not flood with people in the 8 minutes since it was reported that Adrian Griffin will probably be the next head coach, that this is a sign of protest from Bucks fans?
Well, it could be, and it's still early. Obviously, the Punch Bowl social is pretty empty. It's not like there's a first take set up on the balcony, but it's a horrible city and it's still early. It's only about 70 today, so maybe we can expect some more folks down here. But I just saw members of the Bucks brass emerging out of Fiserv. There was an air of confidence about them. Maybe a little bit of uncertainty, but certainly an air of confidence and excitement about this next era of Bucks basketball. Maybe not from the crowd, but from the decision makers. Yes.
Brad, you are an actual broadcaster.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm like, did the Bucks brass really just leave Fiserv Forum? Like, I can't now. Where does the end and the reporting begin here?
I have no way of knowing. There are a lot of doors. They certainly could have emerged. I didn't see them out the front doors, but if I was a member of the front office of an NBA organization, I wouldn't use the front door.
Paul, since when did Paul become? Paul, when did you become the most literal person of all time?
I just think you're finally noticing it. This is not a new phenomenon for me.
Jeez.
I'm a little worried. The Bucks, according to Paul's logic, by the way, would not have been able to sign this guy if Blake Griffin was on the roster because there's no room for redundancy in Paul's world. So this is only possible because Blake Griffin is not a Buck. Too many Griffins, can't have it.
The last time I had you and Grant in the same screen with Tim Shea, it went horribly. Let's try it again. Tim Shea is joining us on the road. Tim, you're navigating the streets of Milwaukee as well. Is this going to discourage even more people from the suburbs and beyond from ever coming to our trash town? When is this motherfucker going to learn that he is on mute? My God, every goddamn time. And can I tell you what Tim texts me? Tim texts me 5 minutes ago, Adrian Griffin per sources, as if he's the one that's breaking the news. Just show me the tweet like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
I fucked that one up too, didn't I?
Jesus.
God.
Tim, the more important question is, you were at Friday night's game. Did you boo Freddie Peralta? And will those that booed him after his friend got hit in the face be accused and put on trial for murder? Because booing, as we know, is murder.
That was, yeah. I dropped my phone from the terrace level to the loge level.
And like, for real?
What?
Yep. It's a long story. I'll tell you off air. I'm not telling you.
Please tell me you were chasing a foul ball that was rolling down the steps like Charlie Brown, and then you tripped and popcorn and your phone went flying over the railing. Please tell me that's what happened.
No.
Okay.
You don't just say something like that and say, I'll tell you off air.
That's a Tim thing to do.
I'm not telling you the story on here. So
why?
I saw Tim this morning.
Because.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I met Mrs. Grant too. Grant, very pleased to see me. We were both in a good mood. Happy people.
He told the group chat that I didn't look happy. No shit, Tim. I'm about to spend the rest of my day loading shit into a U-Haul. And as I told you, you're not Jimmy Fallon. You're Tim Shea. Okay, don't expect me to be starstruck when you pull up in your
to go now. I just want to say hello.
What are your thoughts on the coach, Tim?
Two thumbs down. I'm not.
Why?
You got to make a splash. Who cares what Giannis thinks?
Got to make a splash. This guy's never coached before. What's more of a splash than that?
This is the same path that we're leading down with the Aaron Rodgers with Giannis. Let him make the decision.
Oh, there it comes. Wow.
Oh, no, not happy. Doc Rivers should have been the head coach. I have to go. I'll see you later.
Doc Rivers should have been the head coach from the guy, who wanted John Gruden to coach the whatevers.
The Badgers.
So that went about as well as it did last time.
Well, because tell Tim these days. I think it's a you problem. Okay. Grant, any more reaction down at Fiserv Forum?
I mean, I'm just the man on the street. I don't want to speculate. I think it's a good hire because the Bucks needed to take some sort of a risk this offseason, right? I think standing pat and doing nothing and remaining in the same spot is a non-option. And they don't really have a lot of risks and moves to do with the roster. So you needed to get a little risky and hope for a home run with a coaching hire. It's not like they hired JJ Redick, guys. This is a longtime player. He was a journeyman. He's got the background that a lot of coaches do. Found a way to have a role in this league, even as an undrafted player after playing in Europe for a while. I mean, the Bucks wanted him as a coach so bad back in the day. They cut him and then invited him to stay on as a coach. So I think this is the right amount of safe and the right amount of risk. I think the Bucks needed to take some sort of risk with this hire. It could go poorly, but they could also hire the next Will Hardy. They could hire the next young up-and-coming coach that everybody wishes they had. That would obviously be great and exactly what they need.
But Grant, Will Hardy was the coach of the Jazz. Why are the Bucks in this position in a totally different spot that the Bucks are in? I don't know why they would take. I guess I'm confused by your overall thought of this is the right time to take a risk. I think this is the worst time to take a risk. Why is this a good time to take a risk?
Well, think of it, financially. You could buy a savings bond, and you're going to make $5, and maybe that $5 is the difference next year, Paul. I don't think it is, right? The East is really talented and deep. They didn't get out of the first round this year, so you make a little bit of a risky investment. You don't go all in on crypto, but let's get out of the savings bond industry. Let's get some CDs, right? Let's get into the stock market just a bit. I don't see I don't envision a realistic scenario where this is a total flop, where this is a total bomb, right?
Yeah, it's not like they're hiring Eddie to coach the fucking team.
It's not like they're poaching the top assistant off Greg Gard's staff. This guy's been around the league. He's been groomed. Read Eric Name's stuff. He's got a diverse background of doing lots of different things on many different staffs with many different coaches. So I think this is the right risk. Any one of these hires is going to be a risk.
Let me say two things. First of all, credit to Grant for uncovering, and maybe it's because you're down at Fiserv, but you uncovered a detail that nobody would have uncovered, is that this hire was 15 years in the making. Mm-hmm. Because as you mentioned, Griffin was traded to the Bucks. Remember, that was in August of 2008. It was the 3-team deal that sent Mo Williams to Cleveland, Joe Smith and Desmond Mason to Oklahoma City, Damon Jones and Oklahoma City's Luke Ridnour to Milwaukee, along with Adrian Griffin. They cut him right away to work under an assistant with Scott Skiles, who once set the record for most assists in a game. So if anything, I would expect more assists and more unselfish pass making. This was a move 15 years in the making. Giannis wasn't even, he was still selling trinkets when the Bucks were putting this in motion. So an incredible move by the Milwaukee Bucks.
Wait, Bart, did you say that he joined the coaching staff after the trade deadline that year?
They cut him in 2008, and he joined the coaching staff. This was an off-season trade.
Yep.
It wasn't like the Bruce Bowen trade where he never wanted to come here and just flat out retired. It was the Adrian Griffin trade where he thought, I can serve this team better as a coach. And then also the Bucks were like, we are going to give this knowledge to him now. And so he can learn, what not to do. And then we'll let him fly like any good person should have the opportunity to do. Go fly on your own, see how far your wings will take you before you come back home to the nest and then start the cycle all over again. So any move that's 15 years in the making, I applaud. I think one issue, Paul, is that you did something that you should not do in situations like this, is that you picked the favorite. And then so anyone other than the favorite, you're going to be upset about, I feel.
Yeah. Wait, who was my favorite? Nick Nurse?
Nurse.
No, I wanted Ty Lue. I wanted a trade with the Clippers.
Oh, well, then you were never going to like it.
Yeah, and I want a yacht.
Yeah, Grant wants a yacht. I want a beautiful house with a grand piano and, French door mirrors.
Grant, you wanted Monty Williams so that your sources could have been more correct other than this.
That's not how reporters work. I don't root for stories. I don't root for players. My job is to cover the team accurately. I will cover this team long after this coach is here, and I was doing it long before. That's not my agenda here, Paul.
Let's get Cone Roller's instant reaction. Cone,
Hello, Cone.
Hey guys, just got back from the farmers market here in Phoenix. He got some nice sunflowers, and the buzz on the street is now that Nick Nurse is basically a lock to head to Phoenix, and the fans could not be more excited. They think he has what it takes to harness kind of what Kawhi Leonard showed in 2019 with the new core of Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. 36 is all good here. Nothing to worry about.
What do you guys feel about this report? Shams, prior to the breaking news, Nick Nurse pulled out of the process.
Can I build on the Nick Nurse to the Suns thing? I have a great comp for Nick Nurse as a head coach. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
I think he's the Jim Harbaugh of the NBA in that he comes in and he's brash and he's aggressive and he gets instant results, at least in the sample size that we saw in Toronto. But then maybe there's a little bit of a burnout. So Cone might be correct. Maybe he's the guy to show up on day one, get instant results. He might not be the forever coach of the Suns, but in order to maximize a short window with CP3, Booker, and Kevin Durant, I think he might be the right guy. Cone, I think that's a great take, and I think your sources are accurate down there in the desert.
Grant, I think that is a great take as well because, capitalize on a short window. That's really all the Suns have right now. Chris Paul ain't getting any younger. Kevin Durant, he's working still with a repaired Achilles. So,
yeah.
Sam Quinn, CBS, has some reporting on the matter. Sam Quinn, CBS, he says Adrian Griffin is now the fourth current NBA head coach accused of violence against women.
Maybe that's why the Deer District isn't packed with folks.
Chauncey Billups, and then he leads Chauncey Billups, Jason Kidd, and Joe Mazzulla.
Wow.
Two Bucks coaches out of the
Bucks
board.
Coaches.
Jesus.
And is that due to Jimmy Haslam as leadership? He's got control over the team right now.
Since Jimmy Haslam has taken over, the Bucks have gone 1-4, fired a coach, and hired someone who's been accused of domestic battery. What is happening?
Paul Henning was right.
Paul Henning was right.
Hashtag Paul
Henning was right.
I'm going to let you guys continue this. I need to go. I'm helping my girlfriend move. I explained this to her briefly, and she's like, you need a mic. Take this lint roller. I also introduced her to Tim Shea and then had to explain how I know Tim. I feel like she's met me in the middle enough today. I need to go. Continue.
Commenters on YouTube appreciate the ironicness that you were wearing a shirt with deer on it.
Again, I'm not trying to be biased. This is just what I was wearing. I'm on the scene. I've been camped out here for a couple of days. We figured it was coming this weekend, and Bart, I'm just happy that you got the broadcast going and gave Bucks fans a chance to meet because they're not meeting down here. I don't know what's going on.
Yes, good.
For the Bart Winkler Show, this is Grant Bills in Milwaukee.
Thank you. Grant Bills, of course. You can follow him at Wisco. Grant Cone Roller is here, and Paul, I believe, is still driving somewhere. Cone, more reaction from you?
I know Tim Shea was on here kind of spewing some hot takes about Giannis, Aaron Rodgers comparisons, but are we that far off from it? I mean, I think the narrative needs to change a little bit on Giannis and start talking about him the way we've talked about Aaron Rodgers these last few years.
Well, Aaron may have gotten his coach fired, and again, I've retired from speculating on that, but Matt LaFleur was not his choice. This would be a level of power that even Aaron Rodgers was not granted if Giannis was the benefactor. Now, I did see some Twitter scuttlebutt that the shareholders or whoever's involved in ownership could not come to an agreement on who the next coach would be. And then I saw some Twitter speculation that Alex Lazary was leaking information, to which I think that's true. And again, I have already put my support behind Alex's future endeavors and do not think that he needs to be a part of the conversation going forward. And I am on record saying, since he is no longer with the Bucks, I'm now rooting for Alex Lazary to have a nice life and a strong career.
That's big of you.
That is. Even though he was one of the reasons why we could never get a Buck on our show post 2018, because we had Gary Wolfel on the show and Alex Lazary was the one that stopped it from happening because of how much he disliked Gary Wolfel. I have allowed that to be water under the bridge. We'll now see if Lazary will do the same.
More to come at 6, but I don't disagree with Lazary's take there. I think having Gary Wolfel on was kind of a black eye for the station. That dude had no sources. He was just kind of a curmudgeonly old man, similar to kind of what we're seeing with Ted Davis.
Yes, Ted Davis post-retirement has really exposed himself for really who we all are in this business. People with massive egos that once the flowers stop being given to us, we get vindictive about everything that's ever happened, good or bad. That is what we do in the business. Ted Davis was not only not invited to the Bucks parade, he thought he should have got his own car in it, done all the ceremonies, and in fact, gotten a ring for both hands. Now, I don't know if Ted Davis got a ring or not. I'm sure he did.
I don't think he did.
Because my brother's got 4 of them. So if Ted didn't get one, that would be insanely, that would actually be funny at this point.
I think Ted still deserves one. You know, he was with the Bucks through some terrible times. Always liked listening to his broadcast, would always try to get Twitter shout outs from him. Thought he had a great early nickname for Giannis in the alphabet. I know you don't like that name, but
very bad.
I thought it was good. But I really do think Giannis is having a little bit too much control over this organization. If this coaching hire was just to please Giannis, then the Bucks are not as an elite of a organization as we thought. They're still kind of playing desperate. You know, it's time kind of for them the Bucks to get some huevos and say, hey, you're a player, we're the organization. This is how we're going to run it. And, you know, you're under contract. We're going to pay you to play basketball. We're not paying you for front office decisions. I mean, unless you're really LeBron James, I don't think any player should have that kind of pull with the team. So I'm curious to see how these next few years with Giannis and the Bucks play out, because I think we're headed down a slippery slope with giving players too much power in the organization.
So do you give the hiring an oh no or a let's go?
I give it a oh no, just because I wanted Doc Rivers.
Okay, you and Tim. That's 2 votes for Doc. Interesting.
Coach.
I'm sorry. I'll jump in for this. Why do you want Doc Rivers?
Championship level coach. And
15 years ago, when Doc was winning his title, Adrian Griffin was just getting his coaching career started.
But I think Doc also gets slandered a lot for his playoff chokes, but I don't think it's looked at that he has coached some of the biggest losers in modern NBA history.
Who is less guilty for their playoff chokes, Aaron Rodgers or Doc Rivers?
Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
Doc still gets some blame, but not as much as what the media has been slandering it as.
Ty Windish of Eurostep says, based on the reporting that Griffin is Giannis's choice, going to be one hell of a season. Did not see this coming. He is hoping, as he responds to a comment, hoping it turns out to be like the GM hire, which was bad process, but got you good results.
Stock down on Ty Windish.
Stock down.
Yeah. He was arguing with Brett and Tosa about the economics of baseball, and I think Ty just got way in over his head. I mean, you don't come at Brett and Tosa expecting to come out on the other end with a W.
No, you don't.
As you know.
I fully agree with Brett and Tosa on everything regarding the Brewers and that the public should pay for the stadium or help, because it is something we all use and makes our city better.
Amen. Amen.
Anything more from you, Cone?
Nope. Just wanted to hop on here. Really had some burning hot sources from the farmers market. So I'll keep them coming if I get them. I thought Grant from the Pfizer camping out. I mean, that was a great thing that you guys had in the works all week.
We did. Yeah.
And Bart,
we kind of kept that one under wraps. I didn't want to tip off another outlet.
Yeah, very smart. Very smart. You know, you don't see any other people in the Milwaukee market going.
And it's Saturday of a holiday weekend. And how long did it take us to go live on YouTube with this news? Minutes.
Tim Shea texted me that he had sources and then immediately said emergency pod. So,
wow.
You know, he's
Incredible.
kind of your frontline soldier there. And
that is excellent.
Respect for it. But
That's
Bart,
excellent.
Great weekend. Love the pod. And I guess let's go, Adrian Griffin.
Let's go. AG. Paul, one other thing I wanted to bring up that you had said, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I don't know that Giannis not approaching Bud with things that he would have rather done is a Bud thing. I think that's a Giannis thing.
It's definitely partially a Giannis growing up thing. Like, I think with some of the other superstars who were coddled at younger ages and through the AAU system and were just always told you're going to be the greatest thing in the history of basketball. Those are probably the guys who are more likely to feel empowered to speak up, right? Whereas Giannis had a very different path than that, so it's probably just part of Giannis's process as, you know, a guy who was anything but a slam dunk guy to make the NBA, much less be a superstar in the NBA. So I partially agree, but I think part of what you set up in a culture of any sports team, sorry to use the word, is like how approachable are you, or are you going to go out of your way as the coach to ask your best players or player, like, hey, I think I'm going to go with Drew against Jimmy again this game. What do you think? Right? Like, there's something definitely to that, because this isn't just a basketball topic or a sports topic. It's a whatever job you have topic, right? Like, how open is your boss with you for your input? How empowered do you feel to provide your input? Are you asked for your input without you having to suggest it? So it is partially a Giannis thing, because, again, I do think other superstars in the league feel much more emboldened to say what they want to do and to step up, and that's just not Giannis' style. But it's definitely a partial responsibility of the head coach to go to his superstar occasionally enough so that the superstar feels that they can say something about it without having to go out of Giannis' way to do it. Do you know what I mean by that, Bart?
I do. Yeah, it's like you could stand in a Home Depot waiting for someone to come up to you, so you may be approachable, but you might also have to go approach them before you blast them on social media, essentially long game, looking for free stuff from Home Depot and to possibly sponsor your midday show. Eric Name had written, why it might work for Griffin. He has spent considerable time as an assistant coach. He's worked under Nurse, Skiles, and Thibodeau, may have fresh ideas on how to build an elite defense. Working with Nurse in Toronto, he was given a chance to experiment more on the other end of the floor. However, there is no track record yet of what schemes he might draw up. And for those that wanted an offensive-minded coach, you may feel a little left to be desired. Why it might not work, this is from Name's article last week. He's never been an NBA head coach. Taking over Milwaukee could be a pressure-packed situations. The standards will be very high. And so that then we're going to look at the regular season. Like, now we're going to see, you know, this regular season gets a lot different, because does it matter? Does this guy need to go win 50 games? Can they win 45 and take the route that the Heat did? Or do we want to see him come in here and, like, how important they'll make the playoffs, right? But now more than ever, Paul, you may be looking at a dress rehearsal Broadway show type of scenario.
Well, I'm actually a lot more intrigued for this upcoming regular season than I am the previous years coming off the championship for that reason. It's like there's new stuff to watch. And I think more importantly than that, from the fans' perspective of like, oh, it's going to be more fun to watch, is I think, you know, the players, and again, let's be real, it's all about Giannis. Giannis is going to have to relearn, rethink the way that this new system operates. And so you're going to see wrinkles, I think, from Giannis's game, obviously from the offense, hopefully for sure the half-court offense, that are different than what you saw. So the Broadway rehearsal thing, I always liked that analogy, but I think it was better served as an analogy in that post-championship Bud years than it is now, because now I think this is a new play, you know, or at least an altered version of an old play. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like this regular season will be more fun to watch and more interesting because of this hire, just like the Packers season is more interesting than another Rodgers run, at least for me. So I don't know. I'm more intrigued than I would have, much more intrigued than I would have been for another Bud season, a regular season at least.
Just looking for some instant reaction on YouTube or Twitter. Here is a video someone posted. It's a clip of Adrian Griffin. This is not new, but this was from I don't know when, but an interview he did as part of Raptors media or whatever. Just a little bit, 42 seconds of getting to know him.
One of the things I always tell the guys that I'm working with is, hey, I'm going to get in the trenches with you. You know, you're not going to always like what I have to say. I feel like I have to tell you the truth. That truth, you can't grow. You know, you can't grow if you don't know. You know, you got to know the things that you're working on. And sometimes you got to have those candid conversations with players, but they know that it's come from a good place. You know, you really have to be intentional about just letting these guys know that you care. It's that old adage, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that's one of the values I try to live by as a coach. And so far, it served me. One of the things I always
All right. Well, they cut it off very poorly. Basically, that's him praising himself. I do also want to say that the Bucks have hired not Doc Rivers, but a Doc. Last year around this time, Adrian Griffin received his PhD in organizational leadership. So we can call him Doc.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what have you even given your reaction? I think you're not sure what to do right now. Is that fair? You don't quite know it. You don't know if it's good or bad. I don't think any of us do. You're pretty tepid. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, I am cautiously optimistic, a phrase that we like to say in this arena. I don't know if it'll work or not. I think that with, if this, I'm hesitant to think that Giannis had 100% control in this. But then again, I've heard that he wanted a former player and he wanted this guy. I think we've all heard like this is Giannis's guy is what we've sort of heard. So then there's more, there's a lot that comes with that. I think that's where talking points would occur from this one, because we can look at the resume like we've done a little bit, but ultimately we don't know what he's going to draw up. We don't have a lot to draw from in that angle. I'm currently more focused on trying to yell at people that are trying to make a weekend out of being self-righteous for never allowing booing in sports, as if booing is murder. I don't understand what is going on. Sure, Freddie was going through a hard time on Friday night, but other guys will be booed. More people will be booed in the future. It's just booing. You need to fucking relax and stop trying to be all high and mighty about it, people that are doing that. So,
Bart, back to the Adrian Griffin thing. There's a former Bucks ball boy who was the ball boy during Adrian Griffin's time as the assistant coach of the Bucks. Have you seen this tweet?
No, I have not.
Bill Schmid chiming in.
Wow,
on
Bill
Twitter.
Schmid.
Yes, who loves, according to his tweet, loves Adrian Griffin from his personal experiences with him when Griffin was the assistant, and apparently Bill Schmid was the ball boy. I didn't know that.
I do recall he was a Bucks ball boy. Wow. I am going to quote tweet Bill and say, this is all the confirmation I need to see. Massive W for the hire. Hey, Bill's a tremendous judge of character. How do I know? He's still on the fence about me. So I love the Bill Schmid reaction. And I think that will do it for our live broadcast. Paul?
Wait, I need a Seth Rollins reaction now that he's the NIT champion of WWE.
Yeah, this did interrupt me watching Night of Champions, which I'm a little upset about. How do you bring back Trish Stratus and then make her go to Saudi Arabia where she has to wear clothes? No comment?
No comment.
Okay. Thank you all, and enjoy your weekend.